Hi, it's Rob from the Bush and Boltgun. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to paint a Flesh Tearer's chapter badge. So the first colour we're going to use is Vallejo White. Now once you've painted your shoulder pad with the black and the highlights, you're now going to use white to do a circle on the shoulder pad. Now I always start with doing a vertical line so you know exactly where it's going to be. You're going to get that so it's the height of the circle that you want to do. Then once you've got the vertical in place, you're then going to start drawing the circle. Now, I don't know if it's the same for everyone. I always find it easier to do a circle going counterclockwise, and I can work in kind of quarters and halves doing it that way. Once you've got that first part on, you then want to rotate the model and do the same again so that you get that half circle again going back to the top. And then rotate the model the other way so you can then get that same half circle across the top of the model. Sorry about that, that was a cat jumping on the back of my chair. So once you've got the circle in, you want to tidy it up if there's any little loose edges or stray bits or slightly off circular parts, and then you just want to fill that in with white and give yourself a nice smooth white background to that. I'm just going to speed that up to get to the end of this section, and then once you've got your circle completely white, then we're ready to start on putting the teeth on. So now we're going to start putting the teeth on the saw blade. Now if you look at the pictures of the Flesh Tearer's chapter badge, you'll notice that the saw teeth are pretty much coming out at the 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, around to 12 again, points of a clock face. Now when I say they're roughly that point, if you draw a line from the highest point of the tooth straight down to the bottom, that's pretty much bang on 12 and 6 and 3 and 9 and all the other numbers. So basically here I'm just drawing a vertical line, and that's going to be from the base of the tooth to the highest point of the tooth. And you're just going to do that on every point of a clock face. So start off by doing the 12, 3, 6 and 9. Then you're going to put 2 points in between each one of them as equal as you possibly can. Slightly off to the top right of the screen there, sorry, but you can see what I'm doing. And once you've got those points on, we're ready to start filling them out and start getting them looking like saw teeth. So I'm just going to speed up me getting the points into place here, and then we'll get to the next part. So just going to get those final ones in, and once you've got all those into place, we're then going to start working on getting these looking like saw teeth. So the way to do this is you draw one side with the slope going up to the point that you've just drawn on. In this case, as you're looking at it, it's the underside of the line. You want to make that into kind of a triangle with a slight curve to it. So all the saw teeth will have one flat side, and that's what we're aiming for at the moment. So you've got that almost triangular kind of shark fin shape, but it doesn't quite curl over. So you get each of the points of the clock with one of those triangular points on it, and then once you've got all those triangular, we start working on the actual shape of it. So you can, if you get to a certain point and you're quite happy with what you're doing, start doing a slight overhang on the triangle. And this basically comes from where you originally did the very top point of each of those points, so the top of the line where you're drawing those points. You basically want a slight overhang going to the left hand side of the point when that point is in the vertical position. So you can see here just making them all into triangles, and we can start shaping them properly once we've got the triangles in place. So I'll just skip through the rest of the triangles and then we can move on to the next part with the overhangs. So here we have it, all the triangles in place. There's one or two overhangs where we've gone a bit further forward. What we're going to do now is where those triangles stop, the very points of the triangles, we're going to curl them round and put on the overhang, which is the jagged part of the saw blade tooth. You'll be able to see me rotating the figure around so that I can get the same angle, because I find it easier drawing a curve from the 9 o'clock position round to kind of the 4 o'clock position in one stroke. So if you see me rotating the model round, that is because I'm trying to get that same angle to paint them, because it makes it a lot easier if you're doing it at the same angle. You can possibly do it like the way I'm doing here, with you doing it the opposite way, but you will find that they will be a slightly different shape because you can't get the same kind of smooth curve going both directions, I find. If you can do, happy days, it saves you a lot of trouble rotating the miniature. But find a way that's comfortable for you to do the slight curves on these, and then just start adding the points to the saw teeth. And if you do any of the teeth and you're not quite happy with them, or they go a bit too splodgy or a bit too long or slightly out at the wrong angle, don't worry, because we will be coming back with black to shape those and get them to the right shape. And as usual, it's just a case of using black, then the white, then the black, then the white, and keep doing that until you're happy with how they look, and just slowly whittling away the bits that you're not happy with. Like so. So with the rough saw blade done, we're now going to use a little bit of white again, just to fill in those and get it so it's a smooth white. And once we've done that, we'll be moving on to the black. So this section is just getting that whole saw blade, so it's one smooth white colour, so there's no streaks or any discolorations in there, because you will notice it quite a bit if there is. So you just want to work on the areas that you put down and just fill those in and make sure that they all are all one colour. So if there are any chapter badges that you're interested in seeing getting painted up, just give us a shout. I can throw them up in between doing the larger models, or any weeks where there isn't a chapter badge for the Marine that's been painted. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Vallejo Black. We're just going to tidy up all those edges. We're just going to make sure that each of those saw blades looks as similar as possible. So you're mainly going to be working on the outside edge and smoothing the outside edges of them, getting them into that nice curve. You're also going to be making sure that the teeth on the saw blade aren't overly long compared to the rest of them. And you're also going to make sure that you've got that smooth indent underneath each of the saw blade teeth. It's tricky to get them all 100% accurate, but that's what the painting is all about, is just trying your best to get it as smooth and as similar as you can, and just working them out one by one. And as always, when you're looking at the miniature, if you straighten it up, look at it dead on, you'll be able to see the differences in the teeth, and you can just try and whittle them down and get them into the right shape. Again, you'll also see me spotting into a bit of white every now and again here. That is just because it's easy to, if you're working on one tooth and you spot something that's a bit wrong, work on that tooth, smooth it out, use the black again, use a little bit of white, and keep doing that until you've got it how you want it. Now the next few minutes we're just me tidying up each of these, and that's all we're doing, is we're going to be focusing on doing each of these teeth. So one by one, like we've just done with the first few, we're going to be using a little bit of white, then a little bit of black, touching those up and getting them all the same shape. And it's just a case of working on each of those teeth, smoothing off the edges, getting the indents, getting the length right, and just keep doing that until you've got them all done. Once you're happy with the saw blade, you're going to move on to Citadel Mephiston Red, and you're going to put that blood drop right in the middle of it. So So just like you did at the start of the circle, you want to find the point where you want it to start. And this time we're going to go with a diagonal. Do the second diagonal down there to get the outsides of the blood drop. And once you've got both of those in place, you're then going to do a curve on the underside and try and get the bottom of that blood drop the same. And when you're doing the blood drop, if you find yourself that you've gone too far over one way, or it's not quite smooth, or it's slightly out of line on one side, not a problem. All you need to do is smooth that over with a bit more red, or use white to make that the right shape. You can see here the blood drop is slightly wonky to one side on the bottom left there, and a bit wide towards the top. So we're going to use a tiny little bit to smooth out the top there, get it straight down that left hand side, and then we're going to smooth out the bottom of it and put a bit more of a point on the very, very tip of that blood drop. So it's still offset there. So we're smoothing down that right hand side with a bit of white now. When you do that, you can see that the blood drop itself on the right hand side at the very bottom, where the crescent is at the bottom of that blood drop, is slightly off to the left still. So what we're going to do is smooth off this right hand side, and we can work on that again with a little bit of Mephiston Red. So thinking about just using the Mephiston Red and the white to smooth that round and get that into the right shape. I'm just going to speed up now because this is the final part. It's literally just getting that as smooth as you can and then filling in the blood drop with Mephiston Red. So again, looking at it straight on, seeing where it's slightly off to one side and trying to round that off again. Keep looking at it, checking it, smoothing it off, adding a bit. That is why you keep looking at it straight on, because as soon as you look at it straight on, your eyes will pick up where it's off to one side, or it's not quite straight, or it looks slightly wrong. Like so. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. Also, think about subscribing to our other social media linked below. Thanks very much.